Welcome one and all to a brand new series on the channel. This is Small British Steps and we are in the newest version of RP-1. This is RP-1 2.2 I believe it is. I've played around with version 2.0 and 2.1, but this is where we're starting. And this introduces launch complexes and programs. So we're going to play through this. I've already gone to the tracking station and selected Woomera as our launch site. And now we're going to work our way through it. So launch complexes and programs changes the whole game quite a lot. I am going to be playing as the UK, obviously, for this series, hence the British. And I've got an extra little mod pack installed to give us some British engines, which is going to make this very different, I think. So let's go and look at the administration. In administration, we have got 3 possible programs we can look at. We've got X-Planes research, we've got early rocket development, and we've got suborbital rocket research. Now, I could do both of these. I could go early rocket development and suborbital research straight out of the bat. However, and this is the important bit for me, I want money, and I get more money from the X-Planes program. It is the best paying of the programs. You can see it lasts longer, but it pays a lot. Now, there is a bit of me that goes, I could just go to suborbital research, put it onto normal, and onto breakneck, and actually just go through it and then take something else later on. But I'm actually going to go a bit weird. I'm going to choose that on fast or normal, I think it is. I'm going to choose plane research as well, just to get the funds, because I am going to do this in the background, but we're not actually going to start any flights for it, probably until about year 4. So yeah, we're going to take this one on normal, or fast now it is. They've changed these, so it's now normal, fast, and breakneck. We're going to go on fast with this. It's going to cost me 150. Yes, it is. And then I'm going to go a rocket plane. I'm going to go on fast. That's going to take me to spend every single penny. There we go. Wonderful. I can't get any admin or anything like that yet until I've beaten the Kármán line. Until I've passed the Kármán line. So we are done in here. Which now means when we come back to the main screen, we no longer have the need to go into admin, but we do need to go to mission control. And in mission control, we have first launch, Kármán line, and breaking the sound barrier crewed. Normally I would take this, but I think I'm going to leave it actually. I think it says it's going to expire in a few days. Am I limited? I'm limited to 3 contracts max, so I'm going to not take it. We are going to take first launch. We are going to take Kármán line because I want that. That's just going to sit there. We don't need to grab that. We're going to leave it. So I suppose we should think about building a craft or something. So we've got our program set up. We've chosen some missions we want to try and achieve. We've got some stuff we've got to work on in a minute, but next we want to actually, and it does say in nice detailed things there about going to the VAB and building your first craft. So we're going to build our first craft, but we're also going to build sort of our last craft that's linked to that one. But I'll explain when we get there. So here we have the Dart-01. If you need to know about actually creating your first craft, there's the wiki that you can go through. It talks about it. Also, if you look at my earlier series on a very basic space program, the first couple of episodes of that will actually talk to you about craft creation. So just for those that are interested, here we are. We've got ourselves a little smooth cone peak 2 on the top there in a conventional storage structure tank thing. We've then got an avionics set to science core. We've got a tank here full of just HTP. What on earth is going on there, sea monsters? We've got an engine there. We'll look at that in a minute. We've got a decoupler. We've then got another tank full of HTP, another engine and decoupler, and then we've got fins on the back there. What is going on with this engine, you're thinking? And I can show you this now. The engine that we're looking at is this. It is the Sprite engine. If I bring it up, it's a very early British engine, built in the sort of late 40s, and it's just a HTP powered engine. I have a couple of engines in here. Got a couple of options. Early British engines. We've got the Sprite. We also have, if I can find it, if I can see it, we have the Snarler Screamer. So the Snarler was built again at the end of the 1940s, tested on some crafts in the early 50s, and of course the Screamer is the second variant of that. We're not going to use that. It's more of a jet plane sort of rocket plane sort of engine, and also it's big. It's what I would like to say is like the equivalent, although it's not, of the A4, but it's not. It's about a tenth of the power. What it does have as a bonus is it's actually really low power to start with, but it burns for a long time. Okay, it gets uprated to the Screamer pretty quickly, and the Screamer itself, if I got the data on the Screamer, where's the Screamer? The Screamer basically increases its thrust by about 4 times. It gets a lot more powerful. So anyway, so this is going to be our first Science rocket. The reason it's 2-stage is because we need to get over 40 kilometers to actually get any science, and I want science. And because this engine, and this is the issue with the Sprite has a burn time, and you can see here I'm burning it for 22 seconds. It has a burn time, a rated burn time. It used to run, or was fueled for about 16 seconds. We have to do quite a bit of research to get the Sprite up to beyond 22 seconds burn, and I've tested this. We will have errors with this, we'll have problems with this. It's not a particularly reliable engine, even though it's very simple. So that's our craft. Now, because we're in launch complexes and programs, we can't actually just go and build this straight away. We're going to save it. What we can do though is we can build a launch complex that can then assemble this for us. So if we go to new launch complex, it will say this is the new launch complex, this is the details of it, and you can see here maximum tonnage, minimum tonnage, so between 2 and 1. One of the reasons that we've chosen to go for 2 stages and not 1 to start with is because I would need a second launch complex, and then I would have to expand it anyway. So you can see here we currently don't have the required propellant, and we don't have the right height and things like that. Now, I could just go, yeah, build this. It'll build me a launch complex that's 13 meters, so it'll be 2 meters taller than this, and it'll do everything this craft needs. It'll have all the fuel and resources I need. So if we look over here, you can see HTP's got 516 units, which is really good. I like that. However, that would then be the dead end for this launch complex. So what we're going to do is, so this is going to be the final of the Dart series of craft, I think, at least in this iteration. And you can see it's quite different. We've got basically a pair of those boosters at the bottom, and then we've got a different craft at the top. I'm not going to talk to you too much about it, but because of the way this works, we can actually put together our craft and use future engine configs and things like that now. So for example, if I take the Sprite engine, I stick it on here, we can see I can actually go into engine, and I can actually test it with the different variants. I can test all of these things. So it means you can actually see where your craft's going to. You can see that this is still under 2 tons, because I know that first craft needs to be about a ton. So I've got a range of about a ton to play with on this size of launch complex. So by keeping this under a 2-ton limit, we can actually make sure they can both use the same launch complex. And there are positives to that. We save time later on. We are going to put a bit more time in at the start building it, but that's okay. So if we go to new launch complex here, and we go Dart, we're going to call it the Dart complex, Dart launch complex. Okay, and you can see here it's given me this detail here. Now I don't really want that. What I want is I want to go up to 2 tons as the maximum, and then you can see here we've got height about 18. I don't need to go up to 18 because this is the maximum this is ever going to be. We're going to put it to 17, and that will hopefully drop the days and the cost down a little bit. Now in the resources, we can actually look in here and we can see we've got a little bit of kerosene. We'll talk about why that's there later. We've got HTP at about 915 units. So 915 units of HTP should be enough for this craft and for all the ones that come before it. We can check if you've got a range of craft you're going to go to on the way. You can actually check, but I'm pretty sure that's going to be all right. You can see it's going to take 66 days to build. Once it's built, we can then start producing our first craft. So we have got a bit of a lag time here. So we've got everything set up. We're going to choose build, and it is now building. We can't produce a craft yet, so let's go and do the other stuff that we need to do. So because we have done everything in the VAB, we started that construction, we can actually look over here and see construction is at 100% rate. It's going to finish in 66 days. In fact, if I show you this, you can change that between dates and stuff like that. So use dates, not days, to do that. You can see if we bring that back up now, let's bring it up. Where have I gone? There we are. You can see now it tells you the date that it's going to be ready. I prefer to use the day, the number of days though, but I then calculate it in my head just because that's the way I work. Right, so you can see now it's saying we've got to go to staffing. We've done the tracking station, that will stay up all the way through this, and then we've got to go and we're finished. So I'm going to say understand. We're going to go to research first, because I'm going to actually choose my research first of all. We're going to choose this. We're going to choose our first rocket research. You'll see you start with 2 points. We could go straight into supersonic planes. I'm not going to do that. We're not going to touch those yet. We're going to work along here, then we're going to work along the material science thing, and I'll explain why as we go along on that. There is a reason for it, to ignore planes so much. Right, so we've got these next engines on here for us are the D-Spar, the Sprite 2 variant. which is nice. And you also see we get the Screamer variant if we wanted to use that. And we could use that for our planes as a British series. Also, you can see all the lovely variants for those people that play the normal game instead of the version I am playing. Right, we're going to check that. We have 1 point left, but we're going to need another couple before I get to here. And this is where we start to get more interesting. We get another British engine, the Spectre engine there, but we'll get back to that later. So we're now in staffing, and we start off with 20 staff, and those 20 staff I'm going to put straight into research. We're going to just hire them straight away. Now, this is where it becomes interesting. We know, for example, that it's going to take probably 60 days to build the launch complex. Once that's done, we're going to want to build a craft in it. And that craft's probably going to take, what, 60 days. There's no point us finishing our research before that. So we'll have a look at the research. You can see it's going to take 140. I'm gonna leave that at 20. Once we start building our next craft, we'll in the craft, and we have a set date, we can up our research to match that finish date, and then ideally we can take the research up. You might be tempted at the start to just load up on researchers, get the research going, but there's no point paying researchers when you have no research to do. So we are limited right now, unless we want to spend a point on. I don't think there is anything we could spend a point on, but we'll have to think about that. So we're going to leave them doing their research. Let us now, oh, and if you click on combined, you can see everything. We could, in construction, I'll just show you this, you can move this slider. Now if I move it to less than 100%, the total cost will stay the same. You'll see the remaining unit cost at the bottom there stays the same. But the cost per day obviously goes down because you're spreading out over many days. Alternatively, if I move it above 100%, you'll see that the remaining cost goes up, as does the cost per day. We're actually, by pushing it to go faster, we spend more money for the total cost. So it's a double whammy. So what you can do is, if you're a bit low on funds, you can just pull it down. It's still going to keep building. You just hold it on 0 if you really want. Okay. And if you're in loads of funds and you're in a hurry, there you go. And you can see it has a massive impact on the build rate. We're not doing a speed run. We're not going to push that forward. I don't know what's the impact. It goes up by double. It basically doubles the price. Although, does it double the price? Yes, it does. It doubles the price. So for a 50% increase, you double the price, which is an interesting payoff. It's a bit like rush building in the past. So we're going to leave that. I'm going to warp forward, and then we shall go and start building our first craft. Right, we are now in March, and we've built our launch complex. You can see our rocketry testing is 77 days left on it. We're going to go back to the VAB now. Here we are with Dart 01 again. You can see that we have on the right hand side here where the integration info is. It actually says that we've got the launch complex is Dart launch complex, and it's 2 tons. It says we can have a new one and stuff like that. If we get multiple launch complexes, you can scroll through them. We only have 1 currently, so that's what we're going to sit with. So this is Dart 1. And we're gonna start building it now. The first thing I want to do, we're gonna just save it because I always do that. I have a habit. I want to look at tooling. You can see if we click the M over here, if we max out the staff that we can have in there, you'll see it takes 262 days to do it. If I click on here, it goes down to 24 days. Rollout time is 1 day. So we are going to tool everything. It's going to cost us it's going to cost us some stuff. So let's tool all of those. It's going to cost us 2,000. There we go. You can see while we've been fast forwarding, and we've actually built up funds because we've got money coming in from our launch complexes. So we're actually using funds we saved up, which was quite nice. We could have tooled this earlier, but I wanted to show you that the funds would come in and cover it. So we've actually got more funds than we need for launching this craft, which is nice. So that's ready. But there's a couple of things we also need to do. So we also, if we go now to do that, we'll save that. Thank you. If we go to launch it, you will see it says, oh, you've got to buy all these parts. So we've got to get the avionics. We've got all this because we've not had them before. They're all the early starting parts. It's going to cost us 1,000. There we go. So that's ready. And that's going to be in the build queue. If we actually look at, there we are. You can see the Dart 01 is in the build queue. We haven't got any staff doing anything yet. We're going to spend money on that in a moment. Right, next bit. So I also want a second craft to be built, and that is going to be the Dart 2. And the difference with the Dart 2 and the Dart 1, first of all, that paint scheme is different. We're going to change that. Oh no, we need to be consistent, don't we? Little tip for you, if you've got a color scheme, something you like, if you go into the recolor and you go store pattern, and then you come to the bit that you now want to match it, click open recolor again and go a load pattern. You can see there it just changes the color. So I've gone for like a slightly metallic thing, but I don't like a lot of metallic on it. The reflection and the darkness is challenging. Anyway, this is Dart 2, and the only difference is that we've actually got a little pod up here with a parachute in, and the top cap there and the rest of this will actually decouple and leave behind this parachute thing, so we can get some, hopefully, some return science from low altitude. So we're gonna look at that. Do I need to tool anything? I do not, because we've already tooled it, which then means I can save that. I can go to launch it, and it'll say, oh, you need to get the parachute and the decoupler. I'm happy with that. There we go. All done. Wonderful. Right. I suppose we should go and get some people to build these things for us. So back on the main screen, we can see if we go into our operations. In fact, let's look at combined. At combined, you can see there's our research. It's going to take 77 days. We can see that the Dart 2 is actually going to finish first. How's that? Well, it's just the order. It's just the way I've done it. They're all on infinite. They're not going to be built because we don't have any staff currently building them. So if we come along here and we go to engineers, you can see I can now scroll between hangar and Dart launch complex, and you can see on the Dart launch complex it says maximum of 17 staff. So we're gonna hire some people. We're gonna hire 17 people. It costs us money to hire them, so you see the money going down, 13, 16, 17, and then we're going to put them into here. You can do it. I think you can hold down button and do that, and then do that. There we go. And you see we've put them all in, so we can now see that the darts are going to do 20, 24, and 29. You can see our research. Oh dear, that's going to finish well after that, isn't it? So this is where putting dates on becomes useful. If we put the date on, we can see that actually the research is like a month behind. Now, I would really love this research to finish at around the same time as Dart 1 finishes, but it needs to be somewhere in Dart 2, because then I can actually build the next craft or whatever. Dart 2, if Dart 1 fails, we can use Dart 2 to complete it. If Dart 2 fails, doesn't really matter, we can send another craft up at any time to do that mission. But having one of these get over the 40 kilometer mark and get some science, so we have some science to spend, is important to us. So we're going to go to researchers, and what we're going to do is I'm going to just hire some researchers, and you'll notice the time on that research is going down. We're going to take that down to, oh, I don't know, let's put us, I'm really tempted to do that. Let's do that. We'll just put it on like that. So this will basically finish when Dart 2 is ready to roll out. So if we have a big problem, we're not going to have researchers sitting around for a month not doing anything, because that will impact us. How much does research actually cost us for a month? Research costs us 1,700 a month. So having them sat around, that'd be annoying. So we're going to do that. We could be, if we were optimizing it, we could assume we're going to get this first launch to work, in which case I'd pull this down by another month, but 35 researchers is not bad. We're going to be gathering funds as well. You can see we're actually at 26,000 now. We're going to gain, what we're looking at, we're gaining 160 a day. So we're going to be able to afford some more researchers, and we're going to ramp that up. That's going to be something we focus on in this series. We're going to get the research up quickly, because I think it's quite easy to fall behind. Also, you can see that we're using the sort of Hearts of Iron style. If your research is ahead, you get a negative. If you get a research behind, you get a bonus to its rate. So because we're a couple of months in already, we're now on a 1.02 times rate. So we get a little bonus there. And there are lots of things we can do to improve that. Right, I'm going to run forward until the 1st of April, 1st of April, and we shall see about what we're doing with the Dart 1. So the Dart 1 has finished being built, and you will notice, looking at our little timeline here, that, hold on a second, the Dart 2 is going to be finished before the research now. That's changed. Yes, and I did that on purpose, actually, to show you this. The launch complexes, if we come over to, where are we, operations, actually, no, just go to staff. Staff's easier to see. If I go to the launch complex and the engineers, you will see they have an efficiency. Currently, we can have efficiency between 15 and 30%. It's at 16.3. That efficiency goes up as you use the launch complex. If you stop using it, it goes down slowly. If you take the crew out of it and then put them back in, then it goes down as well. So by actually using it, we're getting more efficient. Now, this means that we're going to finish the craft earlier. You can see there's a long way to go as well. Once we get to 30%, there's other things we can do. As we improve research, that 30% will go up, so we can actually do more. We can get a faster rate of build, in not just putting more crew in. So actually, as we become more efficient, our engineers become more cost effective. They cost us less per bit of work done. So it gets really nice. Right, so what we've got to do now is if we go back to combined, I need to bring this post-war testing down a bit, don't I? So we're gonna hire some more. We're going to take it to 40. You know what? I don't think 40 is enough. I think we're going to take it to 50. Let's take it to 50. You can see now we're a few days. That might work out for us, not sure. So 50 is good. In fact, you know what? Let's take this down a bit more. Let's take it to 60. We could have done it earlier, but I wanted to show you the facts of how that works. So there we go. So there we go. That one's done. It's going to finish 7 days before Dart 2 is ready. However, remember, potentially Dart 2 is going to get quicker. So be aware of that. We're going to roll out this craft. It's going to take us about a day. I'm not sure if Dart 2 will actually do work at the same time, but we'll see. So we're going to roll out and then we'll try our first launch. So while the launch complex is rolling out, we do get some build time. So that's something to remember. That's one of the reasons why I traditionally always have a craft queued up to be built. It's really nice to have, and that's partly why having this finished before Dart 2 is useful, because it means the next craft that we line up will get a day or so of build. We've walked to the morning, and Dart 1 is ready to go. We're going to launch that. We've got the notice saying that the craft is done. First thing to do before you do that, though, get in here and just check. Yeah, we have all of our contracts accepted that we need. And let's go and launch this thing. Right, so here we are. We are on the launch pad. We'll just check if we got all of our auto. Yeah, so everything's enabled. Everything's running. It needs to run. I've got this window up so I can see what science we're going to get. We need to get over 1 unit of science. So let's turn on. I always turn on the SAS. I always put the engine to full throttle. We're going to fire the first engine, then release it when we start to get thrust. And then we're off. So 3, 2, 1, fire engine and release. We are go. Now, the center of mass of this vessel is ahead of the center of lift, so it should go up straight. We shouldn't have any problems with it at all. We are going to have to do a hot stage. Oh, and we've got an engine out, and get that right. So we were going to have to hot stage anyway, but now we've had to do it early because we had a shutdown early. I would love to know what that is. We'll have a look at the F3 screen later. We just need to get to 40 kilometers. That's what we're looking for. Currently, we are going to go over 40. We need to get over 40 because that's when we start getting science, and we need some science. Okay, so we're going to follow this up now. So it's going to get to hopefully to about 50. Getting to 50. Oh, and we've got that. That booster is now landed down. I hope it hasn't actually blown the launch pad up, because that would be problematic for me. I don't know if you can blow up the stage 1 launch pad. Or in fact, if in RP-1 there's a setup. So contract completed. We have first launch, and we've got first uncrewed milestone. You see we started to get, let's put it up here, you start to get rewards in the form of a subsidy, which means that subsidy, I put the speed up because we don't need to go slowly. The subsidy will increase or the reputation, sorry. The reputation will increase the subsidy that we get, and I'll talk about that probably later on. But let's have a look. How are we doing? We've got a little bit of science. We've got a contract completed. We've got to 40. Okay, we're still going up. How are we looking? We're at 0.6 science so far from this craft, but we're going down 0.7. I need to get 1. I will need to get 1 unit of science. That's all we need. I think we're going to get it, but it's going to be a tight one, isn't it? Now, if that engine had gone any sooner, we would have a problem. Okay, there we go. We've got our 1 unit of science, so we can start our next piece of research, and that's really what this mission was about, just getting that 1 unit of science. The science will also, if we come over to have a look at this, and we can actually slow this down while I talk. Science actually, I believe, adds up to this, doesn't it? We get science increasing confidence, and confidence is used for speeding up our programs when we select them. So we used a lot of confidence. We used 500 confidence at the start of the series. Reputation we're getting by getting those milestones, getting those highest flight and fastest flight, which is really good for us. And then, of course, science, we're now up at 2.2. We've got a total science earned of 3.1 because we spent 1. That total science earned includes the 2 that you start with, okay? Don't let it throw you, okay? Right, this thing's coming down. You can see it's actually spinning, interestingly. I just hope it's not going to land on the launch complex, thinking about it. You can see there is some debris already down there. That's not good. It is sort of slowing itself down. What we're going to do, though, is, because we don't want it to land on the launch complexes, we're going to range safety it. There we go. So hitting F3 brings up what happened, and let's have a look. We've got the first engine had failure with engine shutdown, but the failure was giving us valuable data. So that is actually probably going to help us more in the long term, because, oh, look at all the bits falling down, because it's actually increased all of that lovely data we need for our engines. So we can see that we've got that pad is going to refurbish itself. It's going to take about 3 days. We've got our research going on there. That's going to finish soon. We've got Dart 2 being built. So what we can do is we can come in here and we can automatically, let's go and just choose our next research path, because we are wanting the Spectre engines very quickly. So that's chosen. We're down to 0.1 science, but let's go and have a look. That's going to take us quite a while to get to the Spectre engine. So we need to think about, right, what are the next craft we're going to need? Having a look at the available missions, we've still got the Break the Sound Barrier mission. We've still got the Carmen Line mission. So we need to break the Carmen Line. Let's see if we've got something to do that. Right, so here we are back in the VAB, and we're having a look at this. This is a Dart 3. This is basically the Dart 1 with a slightly different pattern there. Yeah, you can tell what's going on here. Same size of everything. You'll notice the burn times increased, and that's because the engine is now more efficient. It is actually the DSD Sprite 2, or the de Havilland Sprite 2 engine. And that came out in 1952 because of improved nickel gauze catalysts and so forth. So we're a little bit ahead of schedule on that, but that's because we've focused on it, and it is the next logical step. We've also got the next D-Sprite, which will come out in the next set, which again is another improvement in efficiency. And then we've got the final one, which is actually a long burning one, but I don't think we're going to use it. It loses a bit of thrust to give you a longer burn. It would be a beautiful engine to start the series with, because it would be, you know, starting to be comparable with the Araby and things like that. However, it wasn't around until sort of later in the 50s, I think about 54 or something like that. So can't start with it. So this is the Dart 3. We're going to save that, as I always do. You'll see it takes about 30 days to build, so we can build one of those. But we can't, because we haven't finished getting the work on those engines. So what we now have to do is we've got to wait until we get to that post-war rocketry testing. So let's get there. Let's get there as quickly as possible. So there we go. What we can do now, though, is we can think to ourselves, we've got this one here that we can start doing research on. So do we want to put a bit more in the staffing? Let's actually have a look at the funding. So this is our daily sort of numbers. We're gaining about 122 funds a day at the moment. We've got our 60 researchers. I'm not opposed to moving this up, because the Dart 2 is going to get us hopefully a chunk of money. The next craft will get us a chunk. So you can see here that's 4 months. So let's put a bit more in. Let's take us to 80, I want to say. Let's take us to 80. There you go. That's shot down. In fact, you know what? Let's take us further. Let's take us down to... Let's take us to 90. That means that we've got 73 funds a day coming in. Okay, we may end up thinking we've overdone this, but this is where this whole reputation comes in. You'll see our income, program budget is about 200. We get a net subsidy, or an average subsidy there of, we get an average subsidy of 73 funds per day. That's actually not huge compared to the program's budget, but that can grow. Okay, so at the moment we've got 26,000. When that rep gets up to 351, that's up to 52,000. It's doubled. Okay, so 300 units a rep, basic 350 units a rep, doubles our funds. That would give us a huge amount of extra funds here. That would take that to 150, which allows us to hire new staff and things like that. So I'm not too worried about that. We're going to start getting funds in. So let's close that. So research is finished. We jump back to the VAB. We can now build our Dart 3. We can unlock these improved engines. We can do that. We can unlock it. Yay, there we go. It's built. So if we check it in our build queue there, you can see Dart 2, Dart 3. But we're not going to stop there. No. I think we're going to keep looking at what else we're going to build. So what else is there? So here is the Dart 4. This is basically using the same engines we used on the Dart 3, but we're going to put 2 of them on the first stage. We're going to actually stack 2 of these tanks beside each other. Imagine them being welded together down the center there. We're going to put 2 engines on there, a couple of extra fins, and it's going to give us that bigger push off the pad to get us going. And then this top stage is pretty much unchanged. We have the standard top stage there. Everything is the same. We've got our standard experiments, and this should hopefully not just get us past the Carmen line, but I'm hoping to get us over 150 kilometers. That's the 140 kilometers. That's the aim of this. So we're going to also we're going to tool that. There we go. That's going to cost us a little bit of funds, but that's fine. And then we're going to we're going to build 1, 2 of those just in case. And then we need something else, I think. And of course, the next logical step is to go bigger. Now, this we can't build yet. We've got a return capsule on the top there. We have a Sprite engine, but it's the Sprite 4. It's the long burning variant. And we've also got the little tiny engines at the bottom we've used before. So that will be our longer term goal. We can't build it yet though. We've launched our first craft. We've got our other sort of next generation craft on the line ready to be built. And we're doing quite well. We are in April 1951, but we're going to leave this episode here. It's been a lot of explanation, a lot of talking you through things. If you want to see the setup for this game and how I set it up, we're actually playing on moderate, not on normal. Please stay on the video. Otherwise, from me, until next time, have a great one. Alright, for those of you who want to see how I've set this up, we're going to go along to a new game. We've got Small British Steps as our title. We're going to go to difficulty, and I'm going to change it to moderate. That's where we're going to start off with. You can see here we've got it all the latest sort of changes. Well, let's have a look. We're not changing anything on here. Advanced, we are not going to touch anything, I don't think. Procedural rings is okay. Contract configurate is fine. Click through blocker. Don't show it at the next start, and follow the click. Yep. Contract configure is fine. Hanger extender, we'll use that. Renamer. Now, renamer, I'm going to use custom, and I have got, we need to get rid of that. I have got a selection of British names in the custom list. I've modified that, but that's not important. You can name whatever you want. Let's have a look. Kerbalism. Lifetime radiation, I'm going to keep on, but I'm actually going to drop the storms down to 0. I'm doing that because I just think we've had issues in the past with that and shielding and stuff, so that's going there. We probably won't even get to the point of needing that. And then we've got, let's have a look, comfort, stress, we'll leave all that as it is. Joint reinforcements, good. Wheels, good. I think part manager, we're happy with that. Procedural fairings, I'll leave that. Rail antennas is good. Realism overhaul, I want to move that all the way to sci-fi. I don't need to show depreciated parts. Aero mods, flag, I'm going to disable the flag decal because I like to actually turn that on if I want it. Let's have a look. I don't want craft. Crew proficiency training. We're going to have training of crew in this. I don't normally do it, but you can knock it off just by clicking that like so. I don't want to do that. Starting confidence, that's good. And then we're going to go with RSS visuals is good. Test flight. Pre-launch ignition failures enabled. Yeah, actually, I'm going to have that. We're going to put pre-launch ignition failures enabled. I quite like that. I believe that is just, it is enabled to failures on the launch pad, so we can roll back if we need to do that. So as soon as we ignite the engine, if it doesn't fire, we can roll it back. Let's have a look. I believe they're working on some change to that, so it actually costs you a bit more time and energy if it happens, but just rolling it back and back out again, I think is, good enough. The GUI, I'm happy with that, so we're going to accept that and begin. So if that was good for you, check out on the screen right now some links. You can see other videos you might like. Check out the channel, see if there's any playlists you like. There's also some links to other content creators there you might like, or leave a comment down below. Like, subscribe, do all those things.